Alison Sargent joins me on the set for today's press review. Hi, Alison.
Hi, Jeannie.
Let's start here in France, where the papers are continuing to reflect on that military intervention in Mali after the death of 13 French soldiers there earlier this week.
Yeah, yesterday's papers were really all about honoring the sacrifice of those 13 soldiers. Today, though, French papers are getting into asking some of the really hard questions. One of them, the one you see on the front page of Libération today, just how long is this war going to last? It's been nearly 7 years since France first launched counter-terrorism operations in Mali. The country remains overwhelmed by jihadist groups that are also spread across the region, making it too dangerous to leave, according to Libération. In their editorial here, they talk about an impossible withdrawal. They say pulling out now risks leaving jihadists free to establish their own sort of mini terrorist state in the style of the Islamic State group in Iraq and Syria. Both left-wing Libération and right-wing Le Figaro in their issues today are talking about the need for support from other European states. In its editorial, Le Figaro slams what it calls France's passive partners. They also challenge NATO to seize the opportunity to prove that it isn't, quote, brain dead, as the French president has described the organization.
Now, European newspapers haven't been very supportive of France's operation either. You found an article, a quite critical op-ed from a Swiss writer in Le Temps.
That's right. This writer is asking, can we trust France in the Sahel region? They don't understand at all why France is expressing this feeling of being so alone. They argue that European countries are incredibly present when it comes to logistics. They actually take aim at France for how it's been handling issues like dealing with local governments in the region. Specifically, they accuse France of letting Malian politicians benefit from drug trafficking, with drugs coming from Latin America. Basically, the conclusion of this writer in Le Temps is that they shouldn't help France until France proves that they can do better on the ground there and prove that they've created a system that's actually worth helping.
Alison, you were mentioning their drug trafficking just a minute ago. That brings us to our next topic. U.S. President Donald Trump has declared that he wants to label Mexican drug cartels as terrorist organizations. Mexican papers have certainly had a lot to say about that.
That's right. Mexican cartoonists in particular, Jeannie. We can take a look at one cartoon from La Jornada. It might be hard to recognize him there, but that is supposed to be Donald Trump holding that gun. He's saying, and now to commit some terrorist attacks in Mexico, which basically summarizes how this move has been interpreted to declare drug cartels as terrorist groups, people really seeing it as an excuse for the U.S. to intervene militarily in Mexico. In their article on the topic, La Jornada has chosen to use an image that the president himself actually tweeted yesterday. That's his head on the body of the boxer Rocky Balboa. Many people around the world have found this image somewhat baffling, but for La Jornada, it represents the U.S. president ready to sort of take on the drug cartels. I think they're probably also using it as a way to make fun of him a little bit. They say the announcement has really relaunched the debate in Mexico about the role the U.S. should play in fighting Mexican drug trafficking.
I think there are many people today who don't quite know what to make of that tweet from President Trump. All right, let's move on now to the Philippines, where that country is hosting the Southeast Asia Games that kick off this weekend, but it seems like the Philippines is not quite prepared.
No, over the past week, there have been numerous reports about athletes having to sleep in the airport or in conference rooms because their hotel rooms haven't been ready, other reports about unfinished stadiums. It's really become a national scandal and has been all over the Philippine front pages for the past couple of days now. The latest twist is that President Rodrigo Duterte, or Roddy as the Philippine Star is calling him here, has launched a probe into this lack of organization, into what's caused the mess. In that front page photo, you see that these school children are sort of posing in front of a tall metal structure that was built to hold the flame that's going to be lit to start the games. It cost $1 million US, all of it paid for, of course, by Filipino taxpayers. Another example of some of the things people are angry about. The Manila Times today, though, in its editorial, is sort of trying to calm the national mood. They say basically now is the time to come together. We can get back to the scandal once the games are over, but they start this weekend, so we're not even there yet. And the paper notes that the scandal has really divided Filipinos. That's what we see in this cartoon. People are arguing about whether or not it's unpatriotic to be criticizing this lack of organization. The man here seems to be winning the argument. He says it would be unpatriotic not to criticize incompetent leaders who give the country a bad reputation, which I think we can take as a dig at President Duterte.
Allison, we talk a lot about the existential dread that's caused by technology, and a champion of the game Go has actually quit because of advances in artificial intelligence.
That's right. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Go, Jeannie, or if all of our viewers know what it is, but it is an ancient strategy game that was invented in China. Anyway, this player is from South Korea. His name is Lee Sedol. He became somewhat known in 2016 when he took on an AI program that was designed by Google, and the machine ultimately ended up winning 4 out of 5 of the games. Gizmodo says the losses really seem to send the champion down somewhat of an existential path, and earlier this month, he submitted his resignation to Korea's Go Association. He said he just had to accept that he can never beat a computer, even if he makes frantic efforts. I have to say, I sort of can't really blame him. He does have one more game to go against a Korean AI system in December. I do hope he can at least win that one.
Allison, let's wrap up now with a story that's certainly dear to your heart, my heart, our producer Marita's heart, any Americans watching Thanksgiving, of course. Today's Thanksgiving, that U.S. national holiday celebrated by many families with a giant turkey feast. But you have good news for people who seem to lack the necessary cooking skills.
That's right. People like me, I certainly hope that this is available to us here in France. These are helplines for people that need help cooking. You can basically think of it as 911 for all of your turkey issues. NPR, America's National Public Radio, reports that many major food companies offer these Thanksgiving helplines, which will connect you with operators who'll sort of coach you through your cooking problems. One of them is the Butterball Turkey Talk Line. Butterballs are a famous brand of turkeys in the U.S. They have been helping people with their turkey issues for 4 decades, so this has been around for quite a while. Who knew? According to NPR, the most common question people get asked is how to get turkeys to thaw, since many Americans do end up purchasing frozen turkeys. One operator said that someone also once called and asked them if you could stuff a turkey with cranberry sauce before cooking it. And they said the answer was a resounding no.
Unless you want cooked cranberry sauce. I wonder if that works with the time difference for all of us expats over here. Allison, thank you for that. Happy Thanksgiving to you if you celebrate it. Don't forget, if you want a closer look at the press review, you can always check it out again on our website, the address france24.com.